Eruption by Michael Crichton and James Patterson. Hawaii is about to erupt, and because of certain military secrets, the danger goes beyond just the island of Hawaii. So a team of scientists, local and federal leaders, billionaires, and celebrities are fighting and working together to try and solve the problem. Apparently, Michael Crichton had been researching this novel for quite a while. He had been going through his usual research routine that he usually does with a book. He was interviewing volcanologists, and he had sounds like an outline of a story. And I've read almost all of Crichton's novels, and I've kind of got a sense of what his books sound like. And so it's funny reading this because I think I have a pretty good idea about where Michael Crichton ends and where James Patterson begins. I think it must be a very daunting task to take over a book from a writer who dies in the middle of the process of writing a book, because you have to deal with all of the expectations of that writer's fans, and you have to figure out how to not let them down and to somehow say the words that the deceased writer would have said if he had written the book, which is basically impossible. You're going to put your own imprinting onto the story no matter what. Given that, I give this book credit for recreating the action elements of a Crichton novel. We've got the countdown, we've got the shifting scenes that go from one character perspective to another, lots of characters involved, lots of politics involved, so it feels like a Crichton novel in that respect. This is where Patterson and Crichton, I think, line up pretty well because this is what Patterson is good at. This is why he's such a commercially successful writer. In fact, I would say that this book is one big action movie. You can just see the movie happening as you're reading the book. It's basically made for Hollywood to jump on it as soon as possible. I also like how James Patterson uses the plot of the story to develop the setting of a volcanic eruption, because there's lots of things that are happening around the volcano, and so overall, in the sense of the story, you understand the sense of the size of what flowing lava looks like and the scale, and so I think that part was also very well done. That's where the similarities between Patterson and Crichton end. I was annoyed when I started reading this book because it starts off right in the action of it. You have the press conference that the scientists are making saying this volcano is going to erupt and it's going to be a big one. It's right at the beginning. Crichton would not do that. With every other Crichton novel, he starts off with some small, weird incident, and then you kind of unfold that weird incident, and then it leads into the main part of the story. In Jurassic Park, it was the girl getting attacked on the beach by this weird-looking reptile. In Timeline, it was the guy in the desert who almost gets hit by the car. Then you ask the questions of how did he get there, and then you get to the time-traveling plotline. Reading this book, where we jump right into the action, taught me the wisdom of Crichton's approach. If you're not slowly drawn into the world, it kind of feels made up and forced. Like, imagine Jurassic Park starting off when you're in the park and the electrical systems are failing, or Timeline, you start off with the scientists back in the 1300s. Like, it wouldn't work. Also, there didn't seem to be an underlying point to the book like there is in most other Crichton novels. In Jurassic Park, it was about scientific progress going too far in chaos theory. In State of Fear, it was about the sociology of global warming. Sphere was a fascinating look at the dark side of human psychology. I've heard Michael Crichton talk in interviews about what motivates him to write, and a lot of his motivation to write was he sees something that makes him angry, that people are so off on a subject, like they don't understand the subject, and so he's going to write this novel to elaborate on the point. There was none of that here, as far as I can tell. This is where I picture James Patterson coming into the equation, because I see him in the commercial world, where you start off in the action and you crank that action up to 11. There's no time for the slow build-up. There's no time for pages of philosophical discussion, like Ian Malcolm's thoughts on chaos theory. Like, that would just be cut right out. So as a result, I think of this more as a Patterson novel than a Crichton novel. How do I give stars to a book like this? As a beach read, I think it works great. It was fun, exciting. I was entertained from beginning to end. I feel like James Patterson fans will be happy with the result of this. Overall, though, I thought it was okay. I don't think there was anything particularly memorable about it, unless Hawaii actually does erupt. in the same way that it does in the book, then I'll probably be reading this again to see how scientifically accurate any of this was. So let's split it down the middle, and I'm going to give this book 3.5 stars.